Everybody, this is Perch, and we're not live. It's a Friday night, and we are basically. I had some family duties, which is reasonable. We've done a number of live shows in a row. It's a Fourth of July weekend, and it is it's time to spend some time with the family, to catch up on some things, all that kind of stuff. As you can tell from the terrible audio quality, I am in the car and getting ready to kind of prepare this weekend. I wish I could say I had a lot of big plans on the weekend. I don't. My plans are hopefully, read some comics, honestly, relax a little bit, catch up on some things. I have a very long list of both recommendations of things people would like me to read, and a number of you have sent me some of your comics. And so I'm hoping, knock on wood, that I can get a couple interviews processed, which are long overdue, and then also review some of these comics that you guys have very nicely sent me, and then do some videos of that. One of the things I'm going to do for this channel in the weeks to come, I know I've been saying this for a while, but I haven't figured out the right angle to do it. The problem is one clear, I think, missing element to comics right now is that a lot of you are producing comics, but you don't have channels, or you don't have a good network in order to kind of talk about your comic. And my show is not planned. I mean, I think you all realize that by now. And so it's very difficult for me to figure out good ways to promote you. And I'd like to. I honestly would really like to, because I think as the channel keeps growing, hopefully I can leverage some of that to helping you. Speaking of channel growth, we are almost at 20,000 subscribers, which is kind of crazy because we celebrated 10,000 in December. So things are accelerating a little bit. I have to credit John Byrne and the John Byrne forums in particular, because there was a massive amount of growth that came from that area, as well as some others. I know that Zach mentions me a lot, and I appreciate that. I know, and I appreciate that he when he mentions me, he doesn't mention me as that soy cuck, which is how some other people mention me, but I appreciate that. I mean, honestly, hopefully this is entertaining to you. That's the goal. I'm just trying to kind of have a good time. I think that, one of the parts I've mentioned before is that this, for me at least, is replacing kind of chatting in a comics shop and being able to have these good conversations with people. And I'm curious, as the world opens up, as a comic shop gets opened, and all these other kind of things, will I be as excited about doing the show? I hope so, although I do think there's an evolution that's going to happen. When the shop is open, I think the videos will probably slow down a little bit, which, if anybody's like, oh no, slow down from 3 a day to 2 a day, horrors. Or maybe they're just in the shops, there's a different kind of background noise coming into play. I don't know. But it will be interesting to see how all that plays out and kind of what it is, what it's intended to do. Right now, my priorities are, outside of, be good dad and be good husband. That's priority number 1 and 2, and be good son, I guess, to my parents. Also, it's, I have some major commitments that have nothing to do with comics at all. And those have absolutely been absorbing my life. I think if people realized the kind of things I've been up to over the last, in particular, 90 days. I know Wes and Joe in particular are always confused how I'm able to get all the shit done that I get done, but also get some comics made. And so I'm excited to talk about that over the next week, of getting a regular steady stream of comics produced and made out to all of you for an affordable price, and hopefully show people some new ways they can kind of promote. But mostly, my priority is just to have fun. It's funny. I think there's a lot of really fun stories that we can tell about comics, about other things. People have been asking lately, what are some fun stories from Japan? I got tons of stories from Japan that I could tell. I mean, Japan's a wonderful place. Of all the places I've been in the world, Japan holds a special place in my heart, because more so than the U.S. or anywhere else, I felt most at home in Japan. And really everywhere. I've spent the majority of my time in Tokyo, but I've spent a lot of time in Osaka and Kyoto. I've spent a lot of time in some of the smaller neighboring areas. I always love, and it's a shorter trip, so it's one you can do without too much effort, but I love going down to Kamakura and spending time there. It has the feeling of an older kind of Japanese fishing village. It's not. by the way. It's still, I mean, it's a tourist kind of area, but there's a feeling of peacefulness. And to me, going to Japan, again, this will make no sense, but to like two of you who are listening, but especially in the summer, which is very hot and muggy, but even into kind of some of the fall, the sound of the cicadas, the crickets, and kind of these summer days, the sitting at the train station waiting for a train to come in some of the more rural areas, there's nothing quite like it. And so if you ever have the chance, granted COVID's messed everything up, but you ever have the chance to get to Japan, I mean, you got to go. You have to go to Japan. It's a miraculous place, and I've been all over the world. I have very fond memories of many places. I absolutely love Barcelona. I think it's a wonderful town in Spain. I have good memories of Rome. I think that's a great place. One of the other my favorite place in the world is Croatia, and in particular Dubrovnik is just an amazing city. And a lot of people go to Dubrovnik. If you're from the U.S., you go on a cruise ship and you don't get to actually spend time. But the real magic of Dubrovnik is in the evening, and it comes out, and you can just have wonderful times in that city. And certainly the walled kind of area, which is again very tourist driven, but still at night the cruise ships have left, and you get more of the real kind of environment. It's just beautiful. Spent great time in Ecuador and Peru and all over the place. Johannesburg, South Africa is a wonderful city. There's places all over the world to go. And if there's one kind of message I send to you, and I know this is outside of comics, is travel. Travel is one of those things that always feels expensive, and it is. But every year that goes by, travel is more expensive. So go now. Go and try it. It's expensive, but it's only going to get worse, and you will get memories and experiences that will last your whole lifetime. If there's one bit of advice I can have. That. But stories from Japan, I don't know. I've got so many. I think with Japan, one of the cool parts is you unless you are a complete idiot, and there are some, it's very hard to get into a lot of trouble physically in Japan. If you go to some parts of Roppongi, you can definitely get rolled, but you kind of have to be asking for trouble. Generally speaking, there's parts of Shinjuku and Roppongi that are a little rough, but like Shibuya, like I mean, you could. I think they've even done tests of this, like people who just like lay down in the street with their wallet on the street next to them, just exposed with like yen hanging out of it, and people like will leave you alone. It's very safe. I don't test that, of course, but it is a very safe city. I mean, with jet lag and everything else, I found myself walking around Shibuya at like 2 in the morning, and completely fine. I've also lived over there and found myself walking around at 2 in the morning, hammered out of my mind with a bunch of other people, and we've been fine. Um, I find myself. So here's a funny story. This is an embarrassing, humiliating story, but there's a lot of ways. The way Americans think of Japan is often very different from Japan. They think of Japan kind of almost like a Disneyland view of Japan. So here's an embarrassing, self-deprecating story I can share that maybe will make a few of you smile. So I had a colleague who told me at the time I was going over to Japan regularly, said, "Hey, will you pick me up some of the used underwear that you can buy in a vending machine?" And they don't really, I don't think that this exists anymore. I'm sure somewhere in Japan, in Tokyo, it exists. But in the, I don't know, late 90s, then you could go to Shibuya and they would have vending machines that had used underwear in capsules. And you'd pay for panties, and you'd basically go there, you pay for them, and you get some used panties. And this was the thing for people. I don't see the appeal, but I understand why people see the appeal. I don't personally see the appeal, if that makes any sense. I don't get it. But this guy's like, "Please get that for me." And I'm like, "I'm not going to get you used panties. It's disgusting." But I'm in Shibuya and I'm walking around and I come across one of these machines and I see it and I'm like, he did ask for used panties. That would be funny. I said I wouldn't, and it was gross, but I should bring him back one of these little capsules full of used panties. I should do it, and that would be funny. I don't know why this is funny, but at the time, I'm like, I'm tired. I'm like, I should do it. It would be funny. And I look around because I'm all embarrassed now. So I'm like looking around. There's nobody around. So I'm like, excellent. Okay, so nobody's going to see me doing this perverted thing. So I go to the machine. I look around. Nobody's there. I put in it was like 500 yen. I don't remember. It was more than that actually. And I'm like, all right, this is gonna be. And I feel humiliated the entire time doing it. So I'm putting it in, and this machine starts behaving like an early 80s piece of crap, and everything is slow. Like you put the money in, and then like nothing happens. I'm like, whoa, what's going on? And then the number blinks up, blink. And it's like, oh, okay, okay. And then I need some more money. So I like fish around in my pocket, and I start to hear in the distance noise. Like people are like this brief area was abandoned, but now people are coming. So I got to put the next ping in, and like blink, and then the money is there. I'm like, okay. And I just push any button. Like at this point, I'm like, just I want to get this capsule and get out of here before anyone sees me like a pervert standing here in front of this machine, because now I'm all self-conscious about it. So I hit the button, and then the little arm for the vending machine's like this. I'm like, fuck, come on, get the come on, and then everybody is there. Like suddenly the street is crowded. I'm standing here like a jackass in front of this machine, and of course, it's Japan. So I'm sitting there, white guy in a sea of like 500 Japanese people. And so I like stand out. I'm like, I'm just standing here looking at my phone, and suddenly the machine's like, choo, 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 and then the little capsule comes down, and it's clear. I'm like, I'm just gonna take this and never see any of you again in my life. And so I grab the thing and I put it in my pocket, and I take off out of there. My face is like bright red, like this is the most humiliating thing in the world. But it can be worse. So I get back to the hotel, and I've got this capsule in my pocket, and it's in. At this point, I'm just trying to kind of cool down from the embarrassment of this whole thing. And I think it was like the Excel, which is this hotel that's kind of attached to the Shibuya station. And I go up there. I'm like, I think to myself, before I go up to my room, I need to change some money. I've got some US dollars. I know we're going to go to one of those all you can drink places later, and so I need some more yen. So I go up to the desk, and if you've ever been in a hotel in Japan, it's super formal. Like you put your stuff on a little tray, and then you send the tray over there, and they change it for you, and they bring the tray back, and it's really like, and everybody's wearing a suit, so it's like very, very formal. And the Excel is a nice hotel, but it's not like the Mandarin Oriental or anything like that. There, it's like it's still a nice hotel though. But so I go there, and they're like, okay, put your money on here, and I go into my pocket to fish for my wallet, and I pull the wallet out. But as I do that, the capsule comes popping out and rolls across this tile floor, and I'm like, oh, and so I put the money in, and I go chasing after this capsule that clearly has what looks to be panties inside of it. And so I get to repeat then my embarrassment, like, pick this up. And the whole thing is just humiliating on every level. So there you go. There's a humiliating story for you. I don't know why. There you go. Some people are like, tell us the story of Japan. There you go. There's a humiliating story from Japan. If you go to Japan, don't do that. One, it's gross. You don't want that. You don't want that capsule. And two, just don't do it. It's ridiculous. So anyway, it is. Again, I've enjoyed the last 2 years of chatting with everybody. It's 2 years, like 2019. Yeah, 2 years. It's been crazy. It's fun to watch how the comic industry has developed. I feel like, because a lot of the conversations I have now are starting to become more calm. And when I say that, I mean there's a little bit less anxiety. Certainly, there's several of it. People, I've done these videos on Sama Amnat. I gotta admit, I'll be honest about it. The Sana Amnat, when I've talked about, I kind of enjoy bringing that topic up because it is triggering AF to so many people. That this person who is not that important of a person at Marvel. I'm sorry, she just is not. And she is the boogeyman for people. And so every time I do one of those videos, it makes people nuts. And I gotta, if I'm being honest with all of you right now, I do enjoy making people nuts. I enjoy it because people just lose their shit every time. And it is, do I think she's doing an interesting job? No. I don't think, if the company had a cost crunch, you would not keep this person around at all. They're not driving major value for the company, but they're not driving major harm. They're not driving major anything. That's the whole point. And it is funny to watch how people lose their minds. I get these recommendations like, you should visit this channel. They've got all the receipts. Or, this guy, this guy who has like 5 times the subscribers I do or more. It's like they know what's up. And I've gone to listen to those channels, and I've gone to try, let's see the evidence. So I go and I listen, and I feel like I just get dumber by the second. I mean, no offense to these guys, but like there's no receipts, there's no evidence. There's just like, this person did a podcast once and they said that this is the future of Marvel. It's like, I mean, sure. Like the janitor says they know what the future of Marvel is. It's not the smoking gun you might think. The evidence is on the page. And bluntly, a lot of comics suck right now. I mean, let's be honest. There are a lot of terrible comics. One of the things that worries me about opening the shop back up again is there's a lot of comics out there that feel like the writer, the editor, that those people are just like spinning their wheels. They're in no hurry to do anything. I appreciate comics that go big or go home. And even if they go big in a way I don't like, I still appreciate them going big. I think you're trying to sell some creative product. One of the values about comics over movies, for example, has always been that you can do whatever you want on that page. Like Jack Kirby, who's a fucking master at what he does. Jack Kirby, you recreating that. I mean, you know why the Eternals is going to suck? It's because you can't do what Kirby does on the page in a movie. You just can't. Nobody's been able to figure it out. Now, I will absolutely lay myself on the floor and say I was wrong. If the Eternals can pull off like Kirby Crackle, like real Kirby style in the movie, then that's going to be an amazing movie. They will not do it, but that would be amazing if they could do that. I hope they do, because that's what it should be. But by and large, with comics, you can do anything. You have the ability. I mean, you have amazing artists out there. And what's interesting, if you listen to a lot of the videos, not just of mine, but other people often complain about the writers, mostly the writers. And the artists are rarely get heat. And it's because the artists do bust their ass just drawing incredible things. I mean, put it this way. I talked about Kirby. Talk about another guy. By the way, again, coming up on 20,000 subs, it's amazing. Hopefully here for a little celebration. I'm trying to get my buddy Sean here to come on, and the two of us can have a good time together. I think we'll be able to pull that off. That'll be great. Sean, obviously, love the guy. Far outside of what is said on this channel, I just think he's amazingly creative. And to that point, people like to bring up Kirby for doing this amazing kind of artwork and style, and it is. But consider this. Like, think about Sean Murphy's White Knight. And then think about if you were actually going to make a movie of what White Knight is. And keep in mind, White Knight is grounded in Gotham. But still, if you were to do that accurately, if you were to like really mimic what's in the comic on the screen, that would be an insanely expensive movie to make. And that's a grounded Batman story. I mean, you move on over to Jeff Thorne, another guy I'd love to talk to on a 20,000 sub thing. Jeff, like what he's doing Green Lantern, you couldn't do it in a reasonable way. There would be no budget. You'd spend $1 billion making this movie. It's like, that's the magic of comics. So to me, and this is my view alone, I always feel frustrated when comic artists and writers don't take advantage of this incredible opportunity. Comics still have this one thing that movies and even games do not have. They can produce incredible worlds doing anything that the other mediums cannot replicate in a cost-effective way. So when a comic writer and artist are like, hey, let's make this comic, and it's gonna be a comic of a dinner party. Who cares? I mean, granted, I was not a fan of the Hellfire Gala. The majority, 90% of that comic was people walking around a party room with cocktails, which feels a lot like the writers would like to go to a party. That's kind of what it feels. It feels like the writers really want to go to a party, and so they're making a comic of what it's like to go to a party. That's what the comic feels like. But even there, we get to the one issue, planet-sized X-Men, where the X-Men basically terraform Mars, which I'm still a little bit confused because in Hickman's Avengers, what Ex Nihilo and those guys terraformed Mars. So I don't like how many times is Mars going to get terraformed, but whatever. Um, that terraforming of Mars, what they did in that one planet-sized X-Men comic, if you were making a movie, that would be $350 million budget to make that movie. You can't do that except in the world of comics. So therefore, go for it. Creators, go for it. You have the world as your canvas. That's what I think. That's what I want to see. I can't speak for any other person complaining about any other crap, but that's what I want to see. You want to talk about why do people revere the Claremont era and some of this other stuff? It's because you could see anything on that page. It feels like a lot of comics today put handcuffs on themselves. They intentionally say they create comics like the comic has a high school movie budget. That's the challenge. I don't know if it's a lack of imagination or creativity or what it happens to be, but that's the part that drives me crazy. Like go for that. Go crazy. You have this amazing opportunity to write for some of the biggest characters in the world, and the world is your canvas. Take advantage of it. Blow the doors off. Do something we haven't seen before. That's what I think people are hoping for. That's what I'm hoping for. I don't know. There are people who complain about comics. Sometimes it feels like no matter what you do on the page, they're going to bitch. But for the majority, remember, only 5 to half of 1% of people on Twitter are actually buying comics. So who cares about those people anyway? Put something out there that the rest of us can just be astounded by. Go crazy. Do something you've never seen before. That would be amazing. That's what I think we're all waiting. That's what we're hoping to see. Anyway, I apologize for no live stream this week. Weird week. I'm recording in the car. I'm then gonna pull over somewhere and do a hotspot tethering to the phone. Get this video uploaded with some super trash picture that you've been watching this entire time. Why not? And we're gonna have a great weekend. Roast some hot dogs, blow some stuff up. Please don't start fires and burn the country down, because then you're going to be a headline you don't want to be. But have fun, spend some time with friends and family, relax, do what you got to do. We will catch up. Thanks for listening.